Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this February 1st, 2022 meeting of the City of Branson Planning and Zoning Commission. We'll want to welcome anyone who has come to speak tonight to come to the podium. We have a registration sheet there. Would you write your name and address down, please, and speak into the microphone clearly so that we can hear everyone. These proceedings are being recorded. With that, I'd like to call the meeting to order. You've heard, if you were here earlier, you've heard already the introduction that Michael Woods, our Assistant City Engineer, made. He is substituting tonight for the Planning Director and the Senior Planner that had been steering our proceedings the past number of months. We appreciate Michael Woods stepping up to do that. We also have a new person up here at the podium as well, trying to keep us on track and keep the order of the minutes, and that's Ms. Summer Hankins. Welcome, Summer. We're glad that you're here. Please let us know, you and Chad, if we can't hear something. If you're not getting something recorded well, please let us hear that. And with that being said, let's start this meeting with the roll call.
All right. Commissioner Romine. Here. Commissioner Stepp. Here. Vice Chairperson O'Day.
Here.
Commissioner Richards.
Here.
Commissioner Howden. Commissioner Lloyd.
Here.
Commissioner LeBlanc.
Here.
Chairperson Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Nichols.
Here.
Alderperson Denham. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Summer. The first item then that we have tonight on our agenda is the public comment section. Now, this section is for folks that have come tonight to talk to us about something that is not on the agenda. If it has to do with one of the other items on the agenda, which are 2 special use permits, please hold your comments until we're dealing with those items till we have those on the table. So is there, did anyone sign up tonight? Mike or Summer, did anyone sign up out on the kiosk out there? All right, and is anyone here in the audience that wants to speak to us about something other than the items on the agenda for tonight? Okay, seeing none, then we will go ahead and start our regular agenda. And the first item on that is to approve the Planning Commission minutes for the January 4th meeting, 2022, for both the study session and the regular meeting. Chair would entertain a motion regarding those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second.
Lloyd made the motion, Romine seconded. Motion to approve minutes as printed. Let's have a roll call vote for approval of the minutes, please, Summer.
All right. Commissioner Romine.
Yes.
Commissioner Stepp.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson O'Day.
Yes.
Commissioner Richards.
Yes.
Commissioner Howden. Commissioner Lloyd.
Yes.
Commissioner LeBlanc.
Yes.
Chairperson Davis.
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols.
Yes.
Alderperson Denham.
Yes.
And the minutes pass. Okay. And so we're now going to move to the second item on our regular agenda. And this is for a a special use permit, a request for a special use permit to operate a private clubhouse with pool and exercise facility within the property located at 400 Gulfview Drive, Branson, Missouri. And so we'll ask now our substitute planner, or Assistant City Engineer, Michael Woods. Oh, yeah, okay. Hold on just a minute. Thank you, Chuck, for mentioning that. I need to make sure that as we follow our process, I need to hear a motion to get this item on the table. So we'll take motion to approve with a second, and then we'll have our discussion, and then the vote will reveal our results. So I'd like to have a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion and a second by O'Day and Romine. And now, Mr. Woods, if you would make your statements.
And Chairperson, just to clarify, that's a motion to put it on the floor, correct?
Yes.
Not to table?
Not to table.
Okay. Just want to make sure the record's clear. Thank you.
Place it on the table for discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Davis and Commissioners. There we go. All right. As mentioned, the title of this item is a special use permit for 400 Gulf View. The applicant is Surrey Vacation Rentals on behalf of Adnan from CPWG, which initiated this request. There's an image on the screen. There was some conversation about what does that lot look like. There's an actual picture from a few weeks ago. And that's their area of interest that's there. Next is the aerial. As utilities marked on it and is outlined in purple. The vicinity of the request is between Spring Creek Court, Gulffield Drive, and bordered by South Wildwood Drive. You'll notice the applicant's property is surrounded by high-density residential and planned development in the blue. Next is the existing land use that's there. As you see, part of that property is vacant at the time. Next, you got the orthometric views, north, south, east, and west. And we can come back to this anytime if we need to refer to it. Next, some details of the request. The request is for a clubhouse, kitchen, pool, and exercise. That is all that's in question tonight. It's approximately 10 acres, partially wooded. Site access is Gulffield Drive, adjacent to Surrey Crown Resorts. Next couple of slides are just a general layout. This was presented to us. It is not set in stone where they will be, nor has it gone through the staff process of approval yet. Here you got a picture of the floor plan of the building. It's going to be a great amenity for the people that visit there. Elevation views of the outside of the building. Based on the following conditions, as we'll read through these are the special conditions that will be placed on top of this property. I'll start with the property and stay with the property. In the end, we're going to recommend. So we'll read through them. Construction activities covered by the special use permit shall conform to all ordinances of the city of Branson. The purpose of the business shall apply for and receive a business license from the city of Branson prior to any business operations, and the license shall remain in good standing. The clubhouse and pool shall operate and be inspected by requirements listed in Branson Municipal Code 4618, Health and Sanitation. If all the conditions of this resolution authorizing the issuance of the special permit are not acted upon before February 7th of 2023, this special use shall be null and void. I'm going to turn this part over to legal. Legal will walk us through the basic elements of 9416, and staff will be happy to answer any questions after he walks us through there.
Yeah, real quick, if Chad can go ahead and pull up the Branson Municipal Code for us. I think it's good when we're considering special use permits to see what the Planning Commission is required to find. So I've asked Chad to pull up 94-16, which he's doing right now. What he is showing you, this is our Branson Municipal Code. For those in the audience that are unaware, this is publicly available on the internet. You can go to bransonmo.gov and view it. If Chad would scroll down to 94-16 for me. So Chapter 94 is our zoning code, and this is where things such as our various zoning designations, temporary use permit, And in this case, our special use permit requirements are located. And the piece that I want Chad to pull up, actually just give me the mouse, this will be easier, is right here. This is 9416. This is what talks about special use permit. Now, the key point that I want this commission to focus in on as you analyze the facts that have been presented to you today by Mr. Woods is subsection B here. So it says the commission may approve or modify a special use permit application in whole or in part with conditions only if the following findings are made. So these 6 elements are the 6 elements you must frame your analysis of this special use permit under. So the first is this proposed use is conditionally permitted within and would not impair the integrity and character of the intended purpose of the subject zoning district and complies with all of the applicable provisions of this chapter. Second, is the proposed use consistent with the Community Plan 2030? 3, there will be no significant negative effects upon the environmental quality and natural resources that could not be properly mitigated and monitored. Number 4, the design, location, size, and operating characteristics of the proposed use are compatible with the existing and future land uses within the general area in which the proposed use is to be located and will not create a significant noise, traffic, or other conditions or situations that may be objectionable or detrimental. And then it goes on to talk about health, safety, convenience, and welfare of the city. The 5th element that you must consider in analyzing the facts that Mr. Wood has provided you is that the subject site is physically suitable for this type and intensity of use being proposed. And then finally, there are adequate provisions for public access, water, sanitation, and public utilities and services to ensure that the proposed use would not be detrimental to the public health and safety. So again, just to highlight, when you're looking at this special use permit and you're looking at the facts that have been presented to you today in the staff report and also by Mr. Wood's presentation, you need to consider it in this framework. These are the 6 elements that you should look at, and that's where your determination should come from. So again, just want to point this out because this is, I think, our first special use permit in a while. Just want to make sure that the commission is aware what they're looking at and how they're analyzing this permit, since again it deviates from standard use in that designated area. And again, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions by the commissioners? I have one for Mike or Mr. Levesque. One, I think this is in a planned development, is it not?
That is correct.
And so the reason for a special use is the planned development didn't, generally planned developments are pretty broad in their ability to
They are
use.
generally pretty broad, but it was written in there that once they do this, they had to apply for a special use for a pool house.
Okay, and do you have was there any reasoning stated as to why that was called out as a special use?
There is not, so.
Okay.
They had a listing of different opportunities develop on the property that they would have to come before the board to say, hey, this is where we're gonna head. As they develop, each one's a little bit different, and where it goes as the years go on is a different question, so.
Very good. So it is planned development, but this use is not outlined in the planned development, hence we require a special use.
Require a special use.
All right, so we're following the zoning correctly then. All right, any other questions for the staff? Yes, Commissioner Denham.
Yes, my question is regarding number 4 of what our city attorney just read off, the location. I went through the 3 plan development, the original plan development and the amendments to the plan development. And since this is a special use permit, it is an actual type of zoning because it's changing the original zoning. First of all, I want to say I think this is a great idea because I would love these amenities if I'm going to stay somewhere. So hurrah, I'm glad they're doing this. But in the original plan development, which is 98-073, section 1.10, vegetation buffers, they speak about a 10-foot undisturbed natural vegetation buffer. So is there still some natural vegetation there, or has that been removed?
There is some, but there's also some storage on the site.
So it
So
doesn't,
I
okay.
could not say to that, but I would think that as they develop, as you saw from the pictures that are here, that, well, they're gone now, but they're going further with this development. But what's in question today is the pool house. And, you know, there were some questions that were brought up right before this, not to steal your thunder, about, hey, there was some free space that was supposed to be left. We're talking about just the use, not the layout of the property. When it comes back and goes through staff, the PD is analyzed to make sure, before a building permit is ever issued, to make sure that, hey, this is the spot that was required, and we'll bring it back here if we need to.
Correct, but it normally doesn't come back here, and it doesn't go to Board of Aldermen. So the last amendment was Ordinance 2008-095, and the stipulation, the second paragraph, reads, "The developer shall reserve a minimum of 4.5 acres of green space to be labeled on the land use map as reserved green space. This area shall not be used for any future development and shall remain undisturbed with the exception of minimal disturbance subject to review and approval by the city forester for underground utility infrastructure installation." So regarding location,
Right.
could you please show us where the 4.5 acres of green space is on?
The subject property is 10 acres right now, and they're asking for a small piece of that for the special use. The rest of it will come in due time when they decide to build more apartments, condos, whatever you want to refer to
Right,
them
and I'm
as.
sure they'll go by the rules. However, on the original plan development, it's not listed where those 4.5 acres are to see if that green space.
It is-
Because I
it
don't
is
even know
not
if that's
listed.
located on the 4.5 acres of green
Right.
space.
And we can research it further when they turn in their building permit to make sure they're in the right spot. As far as the property, we're talking about the use on the property. As far as, hey, I can draw 100 houses that I want to put on 10 acres, but the reality is it won't fit green space, won't fit code.
Sure.
It gets taken right back off.
Okay, for the record, I just wanted to state that there is 4.5 acres of green space that was required and never amended out, so I just want to make sure that that's preserved.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you.
And point of clarification from the chairman here is that we are dealing with the use here. We're not changing zoning. We're just talking about a planned development, which is a zoned legal entity, and we're gonna alter a use or provide for a use within that. Okay, is the applicant here? Please come up and welcome. We'd like you to write down your name and address, if you will, and let us know who you are. And you've heard quite a little bit of discussion about this already. We'd like to hear what you have to tell us tonight.
My name is Mike Stalzer. I'm with CPWG, and we're the engineer of record for the project for Grand Crown Resorts. Is it Capital Resorts? Capital Resorts, I believe, is the owner.
Let's see. Not sure who the applicant name is. We have it down here as CPWG Engineering. That's the special use application received from Adnan Ralph on behalf of CPWG. And this is the Surrey Grand Crown Resort Condominium Plan Development from 1998-073, which was amended in 06 and 08. So there you
That's
go.
it. You got it.
All righty. Well, welcome. Welcome, and tell us about the project, and we're excited to hear some of the attributes.
Well, the developer's proposing to put in the amenity for the resort there. It's going to be a pool and a clubhouse, and within that clubhouse, I believe they're going to have a kitchen or a restaurant facility. And because of that, the special use permit is required. So we've made application for that. Obviously, it would be a benefit to the tenants or users of that facility. It conforms with the surrounding property. Its sole purpose is there for for the, I don't know if you'd call them tenants or, I'm struggling to find the term, for the people that stay there either on vacation or, I guess it's, I don't know if it's timeshare or weekly, whatever it is. But that's what it's for. So like the engineer said for the city, you know, once we get the use approved, we can go through and complete the construction documents for review and approval by the city. We'll have to conform to all the city ordinances to move forward, and that includes any green space requirements, stormwater, whatever.
All those things that are called for within your plan development, yeah.
Absolutely. So this is step one. Before the developer releases us to move forward, we have to secure this approval.
Mike, Michael Woods read 4 items there that are conditions. You've read those, I'm assuming, and the February 7th, 2023 is probably the only question I would have. I mean, that date, okay? It's a whole
Sure,
year from
because-
now?
Yeah, we should obtain approval for the construction documents, I would say at least within 2 to 3 months at the longest, so.
It's going to be faster now.
Well, it'll be hopefully. And then once we start construction, we've acted on the permits, so they don't have to be done by February
No.
7th. They just have to start construction, which I believe they're eager to get going.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions for Mr. Stalzer? Thank you, sir. Oh, excuse me. Commissioner Denham, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Just so you're aware that another meeting will be required, ordinance number 98-073, under 1.0 regulations 1.01. The PD plan attached hereto as Exhibit A shall be considered a permanent part of these land use regulations. Any change to the PD plan involving a change in identified land use for each parcel or the intensity of use affecting square footage or parking for each parcel shall require approval of the Branson Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Aldermen for the city of Branson. So normally, a special use permit would not move forward. However, this is a condition in the plan development, so it would just be one more meeting for you at the Board of
It's
Aldermen.
always one more, you know what I mean? When would that be?
However it's scheduled, whenever the planning department gets it on the schedule for Board of Aldermen.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so. Are there any other folks with you tonight that want to make any presentations?
I don't think they want to speak, but the
Okay. Very well.
contractor's here and
Very good.
Adnan.
Very good. Are there any other folks in the audience tonight that have ventured out to speak to us regarding this special use permit? Hearing none, I received no particular communications on this. Any additional questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, any additional amendments? Hearing none, we will proceed with the roll call vote, please. Summer? We have a motion and a second. This is a motion and a second to approve. Motion was made by Commissioner Lloyd, second was made by Commissioner Romine.
All right, Commissioner Romine,
Yes.
Commissioner Stepp,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson O'Day,
Yes.
Commissioner Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Howden, Commissioner Lloyd,
Yes.
Commissioner LeBlanc,
Yes.
Chairperson Davis,
Yes?
Commissioner Nichols,
Yes.
Alderperson Denham.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes 9-0. All right, thank you. Give me a second here. The next item on our agenda tonight is request for another request for a special use permit. This is a special use permit to operate a manufacturing assembly home occupation within property located at 602 Cherokee. The resolution is resolution number SU 21-7. And in order for us to get a opportunity to talk about this, Chair would entertain a motion for approval and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Denham, second by O'Day. And we are ready to start with Mike Woods. Would you come and make a staff report regarding this request?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairperson Davis. This picture is not as good as the last picture, but this is Google Earth from 2013. There's a beautiful property on this now, so I apologize for that. As mentioned in the title, this is a special use permit for 602 Cherokee Street. The applicant, Gregory Gerard from Gerard Flooring Cover Specialty, which initiated this request. Here's the image of their area before he built on it. The vicinity of the request is outlined in purple along Cherokee Street. You will notice the applicant's property is surrounded by other houses on all four sides of said property. Next is a zoning subject property. Clearly you can see low-density residential zoning around the whole entire subject property. Next is the existing land use. As you can see, there's houses on the majority of it. There are a few vacant lots down at the bottom that still have not been built on as of this time. Again, we have some orthometric views, north, south, east, and west, in case we need to reference them in the discussions that go forward. Next, some details of the request. Existing conditions are single-family residence. The Gerard home occupation is a single-family residence, 0.35 acres or less, manufacturing and assembly of cabinets and installation of flooring, also with office sales. The site has access off of Cherokee Street, has all the water and sewer that they probably should need, adjacent to single-family residences. Special use permit. The staff is recommending based on the following conditions, and we're going to read through all these together. All construction activities covered by the special use permit shall conform to all codes and ordinances of the city of Branson. The proposed business shall apply for and receive a business license from the city of Branson prior to any business operations, and the licensee shall remain in good standing. The proposed business shall be limited to its current scale and scope of work, and an increase in size of the structure or additions of structures to the property in support of the use will be required amendment to the special use. This special permit should be limited to 1 year, at which point the applicant shall be required to bring this back to the Planning Commission as a special use permit. Approval of a home occupation, whether by registration or by special use permit, shall be limited to 1 year based on the anniversary date of the approval, unless a request for review is received prior to the anniversary date. A written request for the review may be submitted by any person affected by the home occupation. Number 5, the special use permit shall not be transferred to another property owner. And if all conditions of this resolution authorizing the issuance of the special use permit are not acted upon before February 7, 2023, this special use shall be null and void. As a result, the staff recommends, based on legal advice, we'll let Chris speak for the 6 conditions. Staff will be happy to answer any questions afterwards. I would also like to add the note that there were lots of letters of note for and against. That is what is on your desktop. You also all were emailed, including the applicant, as they came in, and the latest one was as of 2 p.m. today. Paper copies are provided on your desk.
And just real quick, as you heard in the previous thing, to level set this, I'll ask Chad to switch back over to the.
Mr. Lubeck, can you lean closer to your mic, please?
Yeah, my apologies. Is that
Thank you.
better?
Yes.
Just to level set this again, when considering a special use permit, we again go to Branson Municipal Code. This is what drives your decision. And I just want to highlight again, these are the 6 elements that you have to consider. And again, the commission may approve or modify a special use permit application in whole or in part only if, and this is the key point, all of the following findings are made. And then again, the proposed use is conditionally permitted within and would not impair the integrity and character of the intended purpose of the subject zoning district. In this case, it was low-density residential. The proposed use is consistent with the Community Plan 2030. There would be no significant negative effects upon environmental quality and natural resources that could not be properly mitigated and monitored. Number 4, the design, location, size, and operating characteristics of the proposed use are compatible with the existing and future land uses within the general area in which the proposed use is to be located and will not create significant noise, traffic, or other conditions or situations that may be objectionable or detrimental to other permitted uses in the vicinity or adverse to the public interest, health, safety, convenience, or welfare of the city. Number 5, the subject site is physically suitable for the type and density/intensity of the use being proposed. And number 6, there are adequate provisions for public access, water, sanitation, and public utilities and services to ensure that the proposed use would not be detrimental to the public health and safety. So again, as you review the facts have been presented by Mr. Wood, you need to consider and make your findings only if all of these 6 conditions are met. And then if the commission approves it, the special use condition could be approved. It could also be approved in whole or in part with the conditions. If you deny the special use permit today, I would ask that the chair direct city staff to draft specific findings of fact as well in the event that there needs to be an appeal taken to the Board of Adjustment. So again, these are the 6 elements you should be focusing on in your analysis as a reminder.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Woods. Thank you, Attorney Liebeck. Any questions on the part of the commissions for the staff at this time? Yes.
My question is, I didn't
Hey,
hear.
I'm sorry.
I didn't get any clarity as to staff recommendation.
The staff recommends.
Recommends approval?
They do.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the part of the commission for the staff? Yes, Commissioner Nichols.
I believe I read in the staff report that this was brought to the city's attention, that this special use permit was necessary because of a complaint by a neighbor, but it didn't detail what the complaint was. So I wonder what is already objectionable to neighbors for this going on.
That is true. A code compliance issue was filed with Branson. Code compliance officer went out, noted it, and it brought it to where it is now without disclosing who or what. Or
The
why.
complaint was simply that business was
That
being
business
conducted,
was
not
in the house.
specifically noise or odor or anything like that.
It was not specific to my knowledge.
Okay.
I have a question. Was there a fine issued or anything like that, or a cease and desist, or just don't? Did it
There
just
was
look at
not. There were subsequent investigations where they went out and talked to the property owner again. They noted what they saw out there, different inspectors, saw horses, painting, cabinets, so on and so forth, and that's all that was in the report.
So work continued?
Work did continue.
Chairman,
Hold on.
go ahead, Greg.
Hold on. No. I've got the floor. Was there also an application for a home occupation permit?
There was not, to my knowledge. The application is for a general contractor business permit, is what he has.
Okay. But there wasn't a home occupation review made and denied?
There was.
There was or there was not?
You can help me out. She's on staff. I apologize.
Yes, there was.
Okay.
That is correct.
There was? Thank you, Summer. So there was that piece that I think is important for you to know. that the applicant made an application for a home occupation, and that process carried through, and then that was denied. Now, I'll let you have the floor again for just a moment, Commissioner Richards.
Thank you. I would feel, wouldn't it have been important to have that code enforcement officer here to answer questions tonight? I mean, it's pretty,
As far as their findings don't result anything with this.
but you haven't been able to answer any questions as to their findings so far from what everybody's been asking.
I mean, their findings were, they went out, they talked to the homeowner, told them about the issue, came back, saw it again, talked to the homeowner, made a request to Jacob, made a request to Joel, and then it moved forward to the point we are today for non-compliance.
Okay, thank you.
And now, Commissioner Nichols.
I don't need to ask my question now.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Commissioner Denham?
Thank you. I just have a question. So a home occupation permit was requested, it was denied, probably based on the fact that you need to get a special use permit for
That's
the home
correct, right,
occupation?
for the home
So they try to mitigate the concerns, and that's why we're here tonight.
That's correct.
Okay, thank
So you're
you.
looking for use, is what you're looking.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Any question here? Commissioner Lloyd or Commissioner O'Day? Okay, point of clarification. I understand similarly that the applicant then applied for a special use permit in order to operate the manufacturing and assembly business, an LLC, in this low-density neighborhood, and that that special use permit appears to be allowed in this particular instance when the intensities of use are so different, only under special circumstances. And the special circumstances, I understand, were health concerns. And
The
that-
applicant, that was their claim.
that was their claim.
Correct.
And so then I would defer that question at some point to Attorney Lieback regarding the interpretation of the, let's say, the capability of this permit to go forward.
With regards to that specific question, I again would direct the commission to look at the 6 elements before you that were passed by the Board of Aldermen under Section 9416, and those are the findings you need to find. Special circumstances outside of that, again, aren't one of the 6 elements. So those are what you need to be looking at and considering today.
Do you have another question? You're looking
Yeah,
at
for
me.
you, for the chairman, will we have an opportunity to question the applicant? Or
Yeah,
should we
yeah, yeah,
direct
yeah.
all-
That is correct.
Oh,
That's
okay.
after staff.
Okay, thank you.
For staff?
My question is to you, Chairperson Davis. Of my understanding that you live in Hiawatha Heights neighborhood, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
So does that mean that you have to recuse yourself from the vote at the end?
That's definitely not the case.
Okay.
And I can testify that I am an observer of noise all summer long. I kind of wondered who was building the house down the street, even though there were saws right next to me. And so noise is an issue.
No, that's not my question. That's not what I
No,
was
no,
asking.
No, but I will not be recusing myself.
Okay.
Now, no other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Now, let's hear from the applicant. Welcome, Mr. Gerard. Please sign in and state your name as you speak into the microphone so we can clearly hear.
My name's Greg Gerard.
Welcome, Greg.
Thank you.
Would you like to explain to the commission the circumstances that caused you to create a business within your home and operate it?
Yeah, we had a store over in Hollister for 6 to 7 years. And COVID and my cancer pretty much shot us down. We borrowed a lot of money and we just couldn't keep it going. So we had to make a choice. I had a business license. I guess I was ignorant. I didn't realize that didn't allow me to work out of my house. Basically, we have 2 trailers that have tools in them that are parked there. We don't sell anything anymore. I noticed the one letter from Hiawatha Heights, I'm supposed to have a showroom and be selling products, which I don't. I have an office. We have a phone number with the same number we had at our store. Calls come in, we go out and give estimates. We send them to either Underfoot or Menards, Lowe's, etc. to purchase the material. And that's basically it. I built a few cabinets in the garage. Not all the time. The only delivery truck I have is a delivery truck from Onyx that brings shower pans, and that's less than once a month. It's a box truck like a UPS. They back into our driveway. So all these trucks, my daughter has a truck. She owns part of the business, and I have another young man that is basically adopted by us. He's from Puerto Rico, and he works for us. He's contract labor. They come to the house a lot, pick up trailer, not that often. A lot of times you won't see them for a week because they're out on a job. Other times they come to visit and eat supper, help me mow the yard, different things. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Yes, we'll ask you to entertain some questions from the commissioners, please. Commissioner Stepp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Mr. Gerard.
Hi.
I'm a former home builder, so I'm kind of pretty familiar with what cabinet makers do or, millwork guys do. Can you kind of describe for everybody, like, do you have standard hours of operation that you work? Do you work on weekends also? Like, say, a start time in the morning, finish time at night? Do you have employees that meet there to start the day and get their work orders and then head out for the day? Just kind of paint maybe a little bit more color.
I don't basically work every day because of my health.
Okay.
I try to work 5 days a week. I don't ever start anything out in the garage till usually 9 o'clock in the morning. By the time I do my paperwork and things, I don't work past 5 or 6. I'm usually in bed by this time every night.
Yeah, you and me both. So my other question, do you have like a number of employees on staff and they come to meet there to start their day?
My daughter, she's basically not an employee because she's part owner, and then one that's 1099 subcontractor.
Okay, so just 2 people other than yourself?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other, Commissioner Nichols?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for coming down so we could talk to you directly and find out what the specifics are of your business while we consider the special use. Could you describe when you do work in your garage, what types of tools you use, what types of processes? Specifically, I'm kind of concerned about things that make noise and maybe have odors like stains and paints and
I
things
have a
like that.
big commercial table saw. It's a Grizzly. I have a chop saw, air nailers, sanders. They're all battery powered now. Dust collector. Most all of our other than our stains, our paints, and all of our clear coat are water-based. So there shouldn't be any odor other than if you were painting outside of your house.
And what about your scrap and your materials? Do you store everything for the job and inside the garage? Is there any material storage or waste or scrap storage outside of your house?
I go and buy all my cabinet material at Menards per job, if I have a cabinet job or a vanity job, and it's stored right in the garage, and I cut it all up, and that's it, basically.
And then what do you do with your waste?
My waste, I usually take it to the dump.
Okay, in pickup truck or in your trailer?
in my pickup truck.
One follow-up also.
Please continue.
When we talk about these types of home occupation, I noticed that the code and ordinance does allow for signage on the house. Do you have any plans to put any type of signage on your home?
I don't want a sign, because we don't want to conduct it like we're made out to be.
You wouldn't be opposed then if one of the special conditions of your special use permit was a restriction from using any
Yeah,
signage?
I don't want any kind of sign in my yard. In my letter from Hiawatha Heights, it noted that a residence doesn't look like a residence, which actually kind of hurt and insulted me, because I take a lot of pride in, I built this house. I take a lot of pride in keeping it neat. And I brought you guys all pictures to see. The adjacent driveway wasn't to get to build and do stuff and build in back. It was put in because of the original complaint. I didn't know I'd upset Brian and beat him. I thought we were friends. I thought he would come talk to me. That wasn't my intent. I put the driveway in to park the trailers around to the side, so it didn't look as unsightly sitting out front. And you're not supposed to park anything on one of the new ordinances in Branson. You can't park vehicles or trailers on gravel or in the yard. You're not supposed to. They're supposed to be on the driveway. I still have the approach to pour, but I'm waiting on a permit from the city.
I see a picture of one of the trailers in the, forgive me, Matt.
Yeah, I'll give you another minute.
Continue, thank you. I see a photo of one of the trailers.
Yes, I have.
One with the red front. Where do you park the second trailer when they're both in?
Just right in front of it. It's where I've been parking it now. It's out on jobs throughout the week most of the time.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any questions of the applicant? Mr. Gerard, if we could go back to the special, if we could go back to the conditions that were posted. We'll verify with Mr. Gerard that he's seen those. And what we're looking at are the conditions within the recommendations from the staff report. And let's see here. Yeah, so wanted to just make sure that you were aware of those and that you were in agreement to them.
Yes, sir, I am.
And that this is for a year, basically. This would be for a 1-year period of time. Wanted to make sure that you understood that. Okay, all right. Let's see, was there another question of the applicant?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm focused on the 6 items that we're addressing this evening. One of them is noise, because I hear that's a concern. Have you ever had a noise complaint? Because we do have an ordinance which allows for noise. up to a
No, we
certain-
haven't.
Okay. Because, yeah, I know the tools can be kind of loud. My husband's teaching me to use all kinds of tools and to fix up our house. I love that hands-on thing, but we're going to hear noise during the day. There's lots of construction going on, thank God, in the city of Branson. But, okay, I just wondered if you
Well,
ever
my immediate
decided-
neighbor across the street wrote a letter.
Okay. Well, we do have a noise ordinance, so we have
Right, I
certain times of
understand.
the day. So, yeah, there's going to be some noise outside during the day people work, so, yes.
And I have neighbors here that live to the right of me that are here to speak if needed.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Commissioner LeBlanc?
So you don't have a storefront, correct?
Pardon me?
No storefront, like you don't have any foot traffic coming in, looking at things. They go to Menards or Lowe's and look at product there.
No.
And you just have an office there, And what's your plan like a year after this permit would come to an end?
Well, I hope things get better. I don't know. I mean,
So you're really not, you're looking to maintain a level of kind of business to be able to afford your current cost of living and things like that?
yeah, I'm
Not
not,
really looking to scale
I'm
up?
not trying to scale up. We've already done that.
Right,
And
yeah, okay. And as far as like when you're meeting with clients, is that done on property there, or do you go to, like, are you doing remodels, new construction, or both?
Well, I'm doing some remodel.
Some remodel, so you're actually going to those clients' house to do bids?
We go to all of them. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's why I had to answer that correct. You know, honestly, it didn't leave much room for clarification. I've invited certain people over, but not very many,
Sure, okay.
to look at cabinets and look at the quality of the house I built.
Right. So you're actually using your workmanship in your home to kind of say, hey, here's.
That's
what I can
correct.
offer
We
you.
don't have any displays or sample boards or anything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard.
Okay.
Now, at this time, we'll turn our attention to folks that have come tonight to speak to us regarding this issue. So if you want to kind of make your way forward here. Mr. Lawson, I see we've received a letter from the Hiawatha Heights Neighborhood Organization. Mr. Lawson, I understand, is representing this organization. Welcome to this evening. Please sign your name and tell us your name and give you a chance to make your presentation.
My name is Jim Lawson, and I'm the chair of the Hiawatha Heights Neighborhood Group. And you should have received from me quite a lengthy letter. And I was going to stand up here and say I was going to read every word to it, but I knew y'all wouldn't let me do that. So
That's right.
I appreciate what you do. I'm on the Board of Adjustment here in Branson, and it's always difficult to vote against an applicant. We like to help anyone we can, but there are times when you have to conform to the law and to the code, and this is one of those times. This is a request for a home occupation manufacturing, seemingly in a low-density residential. And as you've heard already from the staff, that's not allowed. You cannot have a home occupation with a manufactured use. And I received, and you got copies from your attorney, and I'd like to talk about that just a little bit. And what Mr. LeBecq said was that the commission may approve or modify a special use application in whole or in part with conditions only if all of the following findings are made. And I would submit that none of these are met. And let me just go through them. Number one, this proposed use is conditional and it does not impair the integrity and character. This is a single-family residential, low-density development. It's not a manufactured complex. It's not an industrial use. The character is single-family. The proposed use is consistent with the Community Plan 2030. It is definitely not. I was involved in that plan years ago. And this is shown as a residential, low-density area. No business, no manufacturing, no anything like that. Number three, there will be no negative impacts that could not be properly mitigated and monitored. You can't mitigate an industrial use in a single-family area. I have been by there. I live a few blocks away on Lee. And the garage door is open, the saws are going, I've seen three or four people working there, and I don't know who's who, but, and so you have the noise, you've got the dust, you have the traffic. I went by one day and I had to wait to go down the street because there was a UPS truck and some other trucks there. Number 4, it talks about it would not create noise, traffic, or other conditions that may be objectionable. This use does create that. You have trucks and cars and trailers coming in and out. You got saws going, and so that one is not met. Number 5, this subdesign is suitable for the type of density and intensity of the use being proposed. Absolutely not. This is a single-family area, and this is a manufacturing assembly, which a lot of times is referred to as industrial use. And then number 6, you got water and you got sewer and all that, but then the last part of that phrase, proposed use would not be detrimental to the public health and safety. This is a single-family residential, low-density lots all around it, and to have a business use is detrimental. And as we said, the board said, in the letter, zoning codes were set up to separate uses. And you have residential, and now, you do have some mixed use type stuff, but you don't mix manufacturing and residential. So that's kind of a brief thought. If y'all have anything you would like to ask me, I'd be glad to respond.
Commission have any questions of Mr. Lawson? Yes, Alderwoman Denham or Commissioner Denham?
Thank you. Can you please define manufacturing? Because I know sometimes we only offer so many titles for a use, and it sometimes seems that we have to slip one into a specific section. So to me, maybe, I'm just different if there's another definition out there, but it does not appear that he's manufacturing on his property in his garage. So if you could please define manufacturing.
Well, the code says manufacturing / assembly, and so that does define it. And what he's doing is building cabinets from the ground up, raw wood, cutting them, putting them together, staining them. And so in this case, the phrase is manufacturing / assembly. So he's not building cars there, but this is what the code has outlined.
Okay. I'm not sure if Mr. Gerard stated that he purchases the cabinets from Menards and he works on them and finishes them. I'm not that's what I thought I heard him say. Maybe I misheard that he doesn't build them from scratch. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Kind of confused with the manufacturing word.
Yeah, but this application is for that. It is for manufacturing and assembly. You approve this, he can start with the 2x4 and go right up. What he does, I don't know, but when I walked the neighborhood for our neighborhood night out, the doors were open and they were cutting lumber and they were doing all that.
Any other commissioners have a question of Mr. Lawson?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I think the question was, is manufacturing defined? And that was directed to Mr. Lawson. City Code does define manufacturing and assembly under Section 94-5 and says, manufacturing and assembly is a use category, including uses that produce goods from extracted and raw materials or from recyclable or previously prepared materials, including the design, storage, and handling of these products and the materials from which they are produced. So 94 does lay out a definition for that. The single word of manufacturing is not defined in city code, so it's common practice in the legal community as attorneys that if it is not a defined word, you go to the ordinary and common definition found in the dictionary. And just so the record's clear, under Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the definition of manufacturing has 3 definitions. Number 1, something made from raw materials by hand or by machinery. Number 2, the process of making wares by hand or by machinery, especially when carried on systematically with division of labor or productive industry using mechanical power and machinery. And then the third is the act or process of producing something. So those are the definitions of manufacturing and assembly as laid out in the dictionary and in city code.
Thank you, Attorney Liebeck.
Thanks.
I don't think, yes, do you, Commissioner LeBlanc, would you like to ask a question of Mr. Lawson? Great, go ahead.
At the end there, you specifically, I guess, kind of emphasize detrimental. What do you mean by that?
Is noise, dust, traffic, those kind of things, that would be detrimental to living there, you know, in the neighborhood as defined by the code. And as I said before, that's how zoning codes were written, to separate the uses. That's why people drive to work. That's why they drive to their business, is because they're not doing it there at their home.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll take other speakers who would like to come. We'll try to give each speaker approximately 5 minutes. If we need more than that, we'll try to accommodate you. Welcome.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Brian Beadle,
Welcome, Brian.
and I'm the immediate neighbor just south of the Gerards. The Gerards are great people. They're good neighbors. They're hospitable. They're generous. They're kind. They're considerate. And but that's not really why we're here. We're here because of the use that they want to put 11 feet from my house. My journey to 604 Cherokee began 40 years ago. I'm from Louisiana, but I moved up here 40 years ago, or came up here 40 years ago to work with the Kanakuk camps in the summer when I was in school in Texas, and I worked for the camps in the 80s. In the 90s, I moved and worked permanently or full-time staff with the Kanakuk system, a camp called Kids Across America. And in that time, in 1991, I bought a home in Poverty Point. And Poverty Point is in Hollister, sort of out near the lake. I was there for 5 or 6 years, and then I was away from Branson for about 20 years. But in the time that I was in Branson and in and out, I have a sister and brother-in-law that live here and a nephew that's a doctor. I realized that when I come back to Branson, when I retire, I need to be careful about where I buy a home because it's a small community. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where it's a population of maybe 600,000 or 700,000 people, where neighborhoods are as big as all of downtown Branson. And there's hundreds and hundreds of homes, and there's no mixed use in that. And so I was careful that I came to Branson, and when I looked for a home, I wanted a place where there wouldn't be a trailer next door on one side, and there would be a business on another side. And so I looked around, and there's several neighborhoods like that. Most of them are sort of along the Strip and Branson North and things like that. And so I found this little house in Hiawatha Heights. And we like our little street, Cherokee Street, because it was quiet. It is quiet. It was just, 6 houses on that street or something like that. It's one of those streets that goes down like this. And people go, why do you live here? But I bought the little house there, 7 years ago, and their lot was empty, and then I had 2 lots beside me and behind me. It basically was just trees. We had deer in the yard and things. And a few years ago, the Gerards bought the lot next to me, built a beautiful home. I used to tell Greg, I'd say, build a big old fat house so it'll improve my property values, because it seemed like it would. And they did, and they have a beautiful home, and we've been in it. They've done work in my home. They do beautiful work on flooring, and we're friends and neighbors. This past year, I think it was this year when they sort of moved the business home, I don't think we really thought too much about it. The neighbors thought, well, they put this big barn in the backyard, which we figured they would use to store their flooring. And I think that's what it's used. I've never actually seen in the barn. So they started, conducting their business, and their couple of employees would show up, and then they go take their trucks and trailers and go somewhere else and do a job. But probably October, November, I started getting frustrated with feeling like I was living in an industrial park. Like I mentioned earlier, my house is this close to the property line. It's 11 feet from the property line. And so when I go up the road, if I go up the road to town or down the road in the other direction, I was like Jim said, there's the trailers, there's the delivery trucks, there's all this going on. And so I was frustrated. I felt like I was living in an industrial park. And so I said something to Jim Lawson, who's a friend and from the neighborhood. And so that's when the ball started rolling. A couple of weeks later, a few weeks later, Greg asked me about this thing that was going on, and we talked about it. And I apologized to him. I said I was wrong in not coming to you first to level a complaint with you, and to say I should have talked to you first before I said anything to anybody else. And he said, that's okay, I forgive you. But he agreed with me, obviously. But he said somebody had told him that if he needed to spend $10,000, maybe to put that driveway in or something like that, and that would allow him to qualify for this exemption. And I think it was for that driveway, because that's a long driveway. It's like 80 feet, and it goes along the side of the house back to the garage. And I don't know who told him to do that, but it's my understanding that it's someone sitting in this room gave him permission to do that, and then that would allow him to stay in the situation and do what he's doing. And so, he spent his last cent, maybe more than his last cent, trying to qualify and meet somebody's standard to do this. My thing is that it's like the old Arab proverb. This is the camel's nose in the tent. You let the camel's nose in the tent, and before long, you're going to have the whole camel in the tent. What about the guy on Cliff Drive, 2 doors down from the Davises, that is starting a motorcycle shop? He's got a sign out that says motorcycles for sale, and it's starting to look like a motorcycle shop up there. What about the lady that was out on Stanley, and she was trying to start a flea market? She would put all these goods out in the yard and try to sell things like that. What about someone who wants to do a daycare center or an art studio? We're not going to, it just seems to me like what we're trying to do here, what they're trying to do, if it's allowed, is they're just going to open the door to continue the demise of this neighborhood. You saw, it's amazing to me that this man, I'm not sure who he is, sat here and recommended this use when he posted the picture of all of the yellow, all of the low-density residential and said, there's nothing but that around here. But I'm going to recommend, what is it called? Manufacturing and assembly. When I got this card in the mail 2 or
Brian?
3 weeks ago,
Brian, can you wind it down, please? Sorry.
yes.
Okay.
When I got this card in the mail 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was stunned. I'm like, manufacturing and assembly in a low-density residential neighborhood? Is that even possible? Let me ask you a question. Would you want that next door? Would you want that 11 feet from your house? Do you live in low-density residential? I don't think you want your best friend neighbor to come and set up manufacturing and assembly next door to your home. What's it going to do to my property value tomorrow? What's it going to do to the property values of all the people on the street if we allow that? It's going to bring those property values down. You know that. You're the professionals. You're the one on the commission. So anyway, just thank you for your time, and that's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of or in opposition to this request? Yes. Mr. Manning, pardon me? We're still taking, hey.
We didn't get to ask any questions of the guy who was up
Oh, okay. Well, you were fussing about the time. I thought you wanted me to cut him off. Brian, would you entertain a couple of questions from the commissioners?
Thank you. Back to your comment about saying that you believe that somebody in this room who gave them permission, are you saying a city employee, a city official gave them permission?
I don't know if they're employees or what.
But I mean, how do you come to that conclusion that somebody in this room?
People told me that Ruth Denham gave them a sort of permission and told them to, it wasn't Ruth?
You're gonna
Who was it?
Yes.
Oh, the compliance
No,
officer.
and I have no authority,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is kind of, you're kind of,
I was just curious as to.
Sorry, I misunderstood. Who is a compliance officer? Is that him?
I know we have to ask a
Because
city official.
Lisa said it was the compliance officer that told them
hold
that
on.
they needed to do that.
We're kind of getting on a side issue here that, you know, probably doesn't directly pertain to the consideration of the use. Ms. Denham, did you have a question that you wanted to ask this? No, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Brian. Mr. Manning, did you have a point to make?
I just wanted to say that we are not aware of anybody on city staff stating that point about the $10,000 driveway.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here tonight that wanted to speak? Sure, you may. Please state your name.
My name is Lisa Gerard.
Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. In regard to the issue of who told us, now she did not tell us to put in a driveway. We did that because we know that that's what the city requires, that you cannot have gravel. We were told by the city compliance officer, I do not know her name because both times she came to our home, she never had a card with her. She never told us to stop working. She told us that if we would move everything to the back of our home, that was all we needed to do, because if we did that, if she could not see what was going on, she could not legally enforce it. Which seems a little odd to me, because it seems like, well, it's okay if you break the rules as long as nobody sees it. My husband and I in regard to what Brian said, we love our neighborhood. We adore the people there. It was like, when we built that home, it was like we were at home immediately. You know, it was like we'd always been there. We did not build that home with the intent to move our business there. But life forced us to do this to survive. We had to close our business because of our health, because of my husband's health, because of COVID. Building cabinets is such a minor part of what we do. And when somebody walks by our house and sees the garage door open and sees us working in there, we could be doing something for ourselves. My husband builds things all the time for us, for other people that he does not sell. He loves to do woodworking. And to my knowledge, that's not against any city ordinance. So building the cabinets, the manufacturing is such a minute part. 90%, maybe even 95% of what we do is done off the site of our home. Our home is just a base to have an office so we can do paperwork, a phone number, and a place to store our tools and park our trailers. We're not trying to inconvenience anybody. And if anything, we've raised the property values in that neighborhood by building the type of home we built. And I know we have, because one just sold and I know what it sold for. So I just want to clear those things up. We just want to be allowed to make a living and work. That's it.
Thank you, Lisa. May I ask you a question?
Yes.
How did you come to find out that you needed to apply for a special use permit? And how did you learn that there were some special circumstances required?
Well, to be honest, we applied for the first permit.
Which was the home occupation
The home
permit.
occupation. And when we were turned down for that, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember who told us we needed to apply for the special use permit. I know that we talked to some of the people at the city, the girls at the city. We've dealt with zoning over the years because of what we do, having to pull permits for jobs and things. And
But you didn't call the staff person, you didn't call the Joel or Jake?
I had called Jake and talked to Jake about the first one. And he may have been the one that told me about the second one. There's been so many steps in this that I've gotten a little confused in it all. And all the people we've talked to, trying to jump through the hoops and do everything right so that we could obtain this so we can work. You know, we're not trying to get away with doing something wrong. We're just trying to comply with the city, do our job, and make as little inconvenience to our neighbors as possible, which we really try to do.
Very well. Did you talk to an elected official?
About putting the drive in?
No, about any of this home occupation issue?
The only elected official I talked to was, we had some questions about the special use permit, and I believe we did visit with Ruth, and that was very early on. She did not tell us, though, to put everything in the back where nobody could see it. You know, she never said that. But we did visit with her about some of the things we were going to need to do to apply for this permit and how all that worked.
Thank you. You're very eloquent, good speaker.
Thank you.
Do any of the other commissioners have any questions?
I have a question.
Commissioner
Yes.
Richards?
My question is, it seems like what I'm hearing from the opposition is noise. Since you guys have been doing this, have you ever had a neighbor come by, knock on the door and say, would you please turn that saw off? Would you stop doing what you're doing?
Never. In fact, our neighbors directly across the street, which are actually, Brian says he's 13 feet from our property line, and yes, technically he is. But he's on the opposite side of the garage. If you look at those pictures, they're marked whose homes are where. He's on the opposite side. Our neighbors directly across the street, Dave and Paula Knowles, and Dave wrote a letter in our favor. They say in the summertime, it's kind of the neighborhood where everybody has their garage doors open because we're all out working, you know, we're all out enjoying the summer. They can't hear it. They cannot hear the saws directly across the street from us. Never has anybody complained about anything until now. And as far as the trucks, that UPS truck that stopped the other gentleman probably wasn't for us. We almost never have UPS deliveries, but we have neighbors that have a lot of those deliveries because they order things online. We have Amazon trucks, we have FedEx trucks, we have all kinds of trucks in the neighborhood, all day long. Very rarely are they ours. Once in a while, but very rarely.
Have you ever built or done any business with anyone in your neighborhood? Built any cabinets for anyone in your neighborhood?
No, not for anyone in our neighborhood.
Okay.
The only one we've ever done work for was Brian, and we put in flooring for him.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Denham?
Thank you. Just for clarification, since my name was brought up, when I get phone calls, probably like every single one of us in here and the Board of Aldermen, let's just be transparent. I'm a transparent freak. If someone has a question or a concern and they ask me, I will always go and direct to what our ordinances require. I believe I spoke with you and your husband.
Yes, you did.
And said it's going to require a special use permit, yada, yada. We discussed that. I then came to the city and I spoke to Jake and I said, I don't feel the Gerards have had clear enough conversation. They really don't understand the process. Can you please reach out to the Gerards so that they know what's going to be required of them? And I directed it to the appropriate office.
And Jake finally did reach out to us and really helped us a lot because we didn't even know we were supposed to attend this meeting. Nobody had told us that.
Okay, yeah, there is a lack of communication sometimes, so I feel we are elected to represent the people, and putting them in the right place, the right department, the right staff member to speak with is extremely important, because we're all here as a group. Yes, they will bring the staff report, they will make presentation, the board goes through 1 through 6 to look at the items that we need to vote on, and that is how the process is supposed to go. So yes, I definitely told them, these are the Branson Municipal ordinances, this is what's going to be required. I will reach out to Jake, that's the person you need to speak with, so they can take you through the process. So I'm glad I was able to be of assistance, thank you.
Just a point of clarification for me, Ruth. I believe that you're Alderman for Ward 3.
Yes.
What ward are you in?
We're in Ward 2. She was the only, I'll be honest, I didn't know what ward we were in.
Okay.
And she was the only alderman that I knew of, and that is why I contacted her. And I have since spoke with Cody.
Benton?
Yes, I'm sorry, thank you. I spoke with him last week
Okay.
about this issue.
Thank you. This is all sort of a sidebar issue to the question in front of us.
Yes.
I think we spent enough time on it, but it's very helpful for you to come and let this commission hear some of this.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Would anyone else that's come to the meeting tonight like to talk to the commission? Yes, Richard? This is another Richard Davis. Don't hold that against him.
Davises are good people.
Welcome, Richard.
My name's Richard Davis. Several years ago, I was in contact with one of the carpet stores here in town. I have several rental houses over on the Hollister side and some condos over on this side. And the guy that they sent out to lay carpet in one of my houses happened to be Greg Gerard. And we just kind of got along pretty good. We kind of liked each other, and he says, I sure do like this house. I wish that I could rent it. I wish mine was up so I could, are you going to rent it? I said, yeah, I'm going to rent it. Well, I won't bore you with the story, but it ended up, Greg Gerard got the house, and he was there for 7 years. During that time, during the transition of the 7 years he was there, he was working for one of the big condo associations out south here. I won't name it. But he'd done a lot of work for them, and they liked him. Well, they had hired a plumber to put in a hot water heater up on the 4th floor. He forgot to hook one of the pipes up, and the water run for 2 weeks down through 3 of the condo units. Evidently was out of season because they didn't know it for 2 or 3 weeks. So somehow or another they hired Greg Gerard to redo that whole unit. They liked him real well. He said to me, I've got to do some kitchen cabinets and bathroom and so on. I said, all right, Hugh, if I do it here in the garage. I said, you're paying the rent, buddy, go ahead. Well, he's 37.5 feet from my garage to his, and he built those in there. And I walked in there one day, and I was absolutely flabbergasted because I had no idea that he could build cabinets that looked like grandfather clocks. He was that good. And so they come in sections. They are not manufactured and put together. They are bases and tops, and they take them out in pieces and they put it together out there. Now, if anybody tells you that that noise was a nuisance, this old man's pretty particular. I've lived long enough. I've lived longer than most of you. And I've heard every bitch and complain that there is in the books, probably. I own a seed corn company in Iowa, and I own some farms, and I own some houses. And I've heard of everything from everybody. But to tell me that the small businessman's getting a break today, there's something wrong with you. The small businessman like this is catching hell. You people that are against this operation, I wouldn't advise you to go to Washington, D.C. and try and get a job because they bend a few rules here. And I'm a good American. And there's never a rule that I ever knew of that wasn't bent just a little bit. And I'll tell you, all I can say here tonight, I'll make this one last phrase. If you vote against this man, God have mercy on you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Richard.
You're right, he's a good Davis.
Anybody else have anything to contribute? I have to read into the record some emails that I received, so bear with me a moment. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 emails that I'm going to briefly read into the record, so bear with me. This email is from Andrew Bolger, special use permit for Gerard's Flooring. And Andrew says, good morning. I'm writing on behalf of my neighbors, Greg and Lisa Gerard, who are waiting to hear about a special use permit from the city to carry on their business from their home. The Gerards have been good and kind neighbors to us from the time they started clearing the land to build their house a few years ago. We recently have known that they were using their home to operate their business, but it has not been a problem. The Gerards have always been respectful and conscientious about the work hours they keep. Their industriousness is also a model of hard work to our children. They have always been kind and generous toward our children when we take walks through the neighborhood. We are glad and grateful to have such kind, thoughtful people as neighbors. Andrew Bolger. Special use permit regarding Greg Gerard from David Knowles, and this is directed to Mr. Phillips at the time. This letter is in regard to the special use permit pending approval for the location at 602 Cherokee Street, Branson, Missouri, due to unavoidable circumstances, and in parentheses it says COVID-19. It was necessary for the Gerards to close their previous location. The only option was to continue the business out of their home in order to provide continued customer service and to ensure employment for their staff. This move has not affected our property at 603 Cherokee Street, directly across the street, nor has it been disruptive to the neighborhood. It was strictly a move that was and continues to be necessary in order to survive in these difficult times. We ask that the Planning Commission approve this permit in order for the Gerards to continue their business. I also received from Don and Betts Baker, who say this. Rick, I am been acquainted and friends of the Bakers for 40 years. Rick, we regret that we cannot attend this meeting due to Don being on twice daily in-home dialysis between 7 and 8, so please read this to the committee. We respectfully request that the special use permit in Hiawatha Heights be denied. We have resided in this neighborhood since 1972, before it was fully developed, and raised our 5 children here. Also, we own property on another area on Old County Road. This is a quiet neighborhood, and we don't need additional traffic, parking issues, or noise from a commercial operation. If this permit is issued, it will decrease our property values, open the door to additional requests, and set a precedent for other neighborhoods in Branson. We need to protect all the residential areas in Branson. Please vote no against the proposal. Thank you. Don and Betts Baker, 822 Lee. I have an additional email from Faye Pfister. Faye Pfister says Hiawatha Heights is Hiawatha Heights is strictly zoned a residential neighborhood, not commercial. I have been a resident of this great neighborhood since 1971. Let's not open up a can of worms that could be detrimental to our neighborhood. Thank you, Faye K. Pfister. And then lastly, I have a group email. Rick, please note this email represents Ronnie and Marianne Jones, Gordon and Barbara Proctor, Shirley Haynes, Bill and Sandy Aston, Mona Doyle. These people live on Lee Avenue. In the interest of time, we chose to combine our concerns in one email. We collectively oppose the special use permit that is up for a vote for 602 Cherokee Street. We have called this neighborhood home for several years and do not believe this is a positive for our residential community. Thank you. Concerned Hiawatha Heights property owners. And that concludes my reading of emails which I have. We were presented at the dais with some information from the applicant here. I do want to recognize that. I think that the commissioners have had time to look at this, and we've had a thorough discussion with Greg and with Lisa Gerard tonight. And so with that, we have kind of checked off most of the things that we needed to do. Are there any final questions of the commissioners?
Yes, just since the others are read into the record, if we could read Greg and Lisa Gerard's and the names of the folks that are in support of them that took the time out to get signatures and submit.
Go right ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was going to ask you since you read the others. We, Greg and Lisa Gerard, are in the process of obtaining a special permit from the city of Branson to run Gerard Enterprises from our home at 602 Cherokee. The reason we're doing this is because we lost our storefront due to COVID and not being able to get products and compete with bigger stores. So we are forced to work out of our home. This will consist of building cabinets in our garage and storing tools in our shed in our backyard, and loading trailers out for jobs. We would like the support of our neighbors. If you are not opposed to us doing this, please sign the letter with your name and address and any comments you would care to make. We greatly appreciate your support in this matter. If the city does not grant us this permit, we will be forced to move. We're just trying to make a living. Thank you, Greg and Lisa Gerard. But there are 11 neighbors that signed this and are in support of their application this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Denham. Any other questions from commissioners at this time?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Yes, Commissioner O'Day. Please speak close to the microphone if you would.
Yeah, I guess my question, well, I got a question for Attorney LeBeck first and then possible comment. If the commission is to approve this, are we looking at potential future legality issues for other special use permits coming in on low-density residential or other businesses that want to operate out of home?
Yes, and then can I also point out too, Chad, if you can switch back over to city code.
Attorney LeBeck, would you get closer to your microphone, please?
To answer the question directly, yes, there is always that potential. In context with this, I would also like to point out subsection C of 94-16. If you recall, the 6 elements that you are to consider and find is, I've articulated earlier, are subsection B. Subsection C also points out that this special use permit, if this commission were to approve it, is for a specific location and is transferable to a new property owner. So it's not to the person before you, it's to the property. So you also need to keep that in mind directly to Commissioner O'Day's legality question.
Wasn't there...
Hold on, O'Day still has the floor.
Wasn't there a recommendation for an adjustment in the special use permit submitted by staff stating that this would not be transferable to future owners?
That is a condition. It's number 5.
Okay.
So if the board chooses not to modify this, that would be one of the conditions. But again, just be aware of that's there. Be aware that this does potentially expose other low-density residential neighborhoods to this type of a operation if those were to come before this commission.
And now, I'm sorry, go right ahead, Commissioner O'Day.
So that's probably my biggest concern here. Just my comment is...
Please, go ahead.
I live in a low-density residential neighborhood. I live 15 feet away from my neighbor on one side and 20 feet on the other side. My biggest concern here would be if we're setting a precedence of not trying to preserve our low-density residential neighborhoods by approving something like this. There are a lot of people that lost businesses, a lot of people that had to adjust life because of COVID. All over the city of Branson, city of Hollister, everywhere. So I'm just making, this is a very difficult decision for me because I have a huge heart and I understand where you guys are coming from. But I also have to look at it from the perspective of my neighbors, the rest of the city of Branson, and one decision, what's going to happen, if we make this one decision to move forward with this, what's the next one going to be? And then the next one, and then the next one. So.
Thank you. Are you? Commissioner LeBlanc.
Yeah, comment. I think specifically it was just
Talking to your mic really good, please.
was specifically set with a time frame for a year, because I asked him specifically, like, what are you going to do in a year? His comment was, hope to be able to move, get my feet underneath me and get back in the business the way he was before. So this is not his long-term solution. And if I'm not mistaken, in Hiawatha Heights, there was back several years ago, there was a massage therapist that actually operated out of a home there in Hiawatha Heights. So this is not setting a precedent. If anything, a precedent was already set, allowing someone to do business in the community.
Well, actually, home occupations are allowed throughout the entire community.
Right, but they
And
need a
so-
special use permit, correct?
No, they do not. They go through the process that the Gerards went through. The Gerards went through the process and it was denied. So their intent was too great to qualify.
Right, my understanding with your questioning was that it was denied because they didn't request a special use permit first.
No, that is incorrect. That is incorrect.
Okay.
That is incorrect.
I thought that's what they were told by the city. They had to request a special use permit first.
After they were denied the
and then-
permit, after they were denied the home occupation permit, then they sought out trying to communicate better with the city, which was helpful, and they learned that another option might be to approach it from a special use permit.
That's not what you said earlier.
That's not what he said.
Yeah, that's not what you said earlier. Earlier you said they were denied
A home occupation permit.
right, because they didn't have a special use permit first.
No.
Approval for that. That's
No.
what you said earlier.
Yeah.
If I said that, I misspoke. The sequence occurred that after the home occupation permit was denied, then at a later date, now the permit before us tonight has nothing to do with the home occupation permit being denied previously. This is an additional attempt or a new approach to try and gain permission by using a special circumstance within this special use permit to operate a manufacturing and assembly business within a low-density residential. So this occurred at some time later.
I was just going by your words that you said earlier.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Me too.
Excuse me, O'Day, Commissioner O'Day?
Is there somebody on the city staff that can give us just final clarification on exactly what this process was?
Mike Woods, would you take us through the chronology? This is where we are missing a
Planner, senior
planner.
Yep.
It's in the staff report, Commissioner. If you look at,
It's in the staff report.
yes, I'm trying to help aid here.
Thank you.
If you look in paragraph 2 of the staff report, the last sentence, it says, "The applicant began the process after the city was notified by concerned citizens of the operation. Since then, the applicant applied for the home occupation permit, at which point it was identified that the use was not permitted as a home occupation unless unusual or special circumstance exists, which would need to be reviewed through the special use permit process." So there's your order of operations as articulated.
Thank you.
You got that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions, Commissioner LeBlanc?
Nope, I got it.
Commissioner Stepp?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got to tell you, I have gone back and forth about 16 times this evening, and this is really, really a challenging issue for us because my first inclination was to be respectful of the existing zoning that's been there for a really long time and to understand that when people invest in a community, they have certain expectations and protections that they're signing up for, and that everybody signs up for the same deal when you buy into a neighborhood, and you know what those rules are going in. And so that's the way I felt when I walked in the door tonight. And then I saw one of the conditions that the city decided to place on this, which was a one-year time limit on this permit. And there's no doubt from the testimony that we heard and read and received that the Gerards are really good neighbors and that you're excellent craftsmen and good business people, and that you, like so many others, were hit negatively by COVID and other circumstances, and my heart breaks for you, and I wish you healing and the best in those areas. Commissioner LeBlanc, really emphasized that 1-year period, for this permit to be tried out, so to speak. And I would think and expect that if there are concerns that neighbors come up with during that 1-year period, obviously they could come back if you decide you want to renew that permit, and we could address those challenges at that time. It's really easy for me to, first of all, just say, look, the rules are the rules, man. You knew what they were when you got in the neighborhood. But I think there's also some times where we have to be a little bit more reflective and empathetic as best we can to folks that are really just trying to provide for their families and keep the roof over their heads. So it's for that reason that I'm actually going to support the efforts of the Gerard family tonight, with, again, my empathetic apologies to the other side, understanding I hear you. And maybe it's not the black and white letter of what you would expect that we'd want to do, but sometimes I feel like there's room for some gray and some compromise. So thank you for indulging me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your comment. Commissioner Nichols?
Thank you, Chairman. I think everybody in the room, including the commissioners and city staff, can see the discerning difficulties that the commissioners are having in making a decision on this issue. We're all human beings. We all have hearts. Many of us own our own businesses and can totally empathize with being in a position of having our businesses crushed because of our health, because of public health concerns, because of so many factors that can affect our businesses. So I think everyone up here would say our hearts go out to you for what's going on with your business and with your health. I think about our own business. If our business were diminished because of our ability to service it through our health or because of market conditions or public health conditions, and how would we react if we had to pull back and run our business from our home, and how would our neighbors react? So I've definitely looked at this deeply. I've been discussing it myself and looking through it since we received the package. I will say that I won't be supporting the special use permit tonight, apologetically, but also unapologetically, because to me, it's tantamount to spot zoning. Our zoning laws are created for a very, very firm reason, and that is the division between our residential areas where we have a certain expectation of what a single-family home residence neighborhood is supposed to be, and our commercial districts. Not too long ago, many of the commissioners will remember I fought very hard against spot zoning within our commercial, community commercial district, where a high-density residential project was installed right in the middle of a commercial district. And I don't believe in spot zoning. I do think that we should always listen to special circumstances, and I believe the commission has done a very fair job of that tonight. But in the end, to spot zone, which is not exactly what's going on through the special use permit, but it's tantamount to that, to allow operation of a manufacturing business in the middle of single-family housing, is to decry several of the tenets by which we are bound to in making these decisions. And I just wanted to be very clear in why I would not be supporting your special use permit tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments on the commissioners? Commissioner Denham?
I would just like to say I'm a firm believer in protecting single-family zoning rights. I believe I've made that very clear, both at the Board of Aldermen and the Planning and Zoning level. One thing we don't take into consideration, 1 through 6, is diminishing or increasing property values. That has nothing to do with the decision. I could understand if a trucking company was requesting this. I could understand if humongous storage area was requesting this, to where a lot of traffic would be involved coming in and out of the neighborhood. There are a lot of trucks. I see a lot of trucks since COVID. Everybody's buying online. So we have a lot of issues that have come up with this whole, we've got different lifestyles now because of everything. I believe even I mean, a lot of the businesses here are working from home just because of the situation we're in. However, looking at 1 through 6, which is what we base our decision on, each and every member, I can't find, because this operation takes place in a home. You have a very beautiful home, and I'm sure that with your investment in your home, you are going to want to protect the integrity of your neighborhood as well. The rules are set out. You're wanting to abide by each and every one. You're wanting to abide by whatever is in the special use permit presented to all of us tonight. And you're even willing to not have signage out, not to make it look any different than any of your neighbors' homes. I respect that you care that much about your neighborhood. I cannot find anything in opposition to 1 through 6 up here, so I will be supporting your request this evening. Thank you.
Are any other comments by the commission? Any amendments we would choose to make at this time? This is the time if we're going to make an amendment. Hearing none, then, we're going to call for the vote. We'll do a roll call vote, please. Summer?
Learning curve, sorry.
That's okay.
All right. Commissioner Romine?
No.
Commissioner Stepp?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson O'Day?
No.
Commissioner Richards?
Yes.
Commissioner Lloyd?
No.
Commissioner LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairperson Davis?
No.
Commissioner Nichols?
No.
Alderperson Denham?
Yes.
The measure did not pass by a vote of 5 to 4. Thank you, commissioners. I think that we certainly found out the details and the facts and listened to the facts. At this time, we're going to move to the last item on our agenda tonight, and that is reports. The reports tonight that I would like to make have to do with our city attorney. Chris Liebeck has been a loyal and faithful advisor to this commission for quite a long time. He is in the process of very likely taking a promotion, I guess we would say, in profession, and so this could very well be his last meeting. And so I just wanted to make a thank you publicly to him for his service here in the event that he retains a quasi-connected position with our city and continues to advise us in other capacities that may or may not include his presence here at the Planning Commission meeting. I just wanted this commission to know that there's a chance that we won't be working with Chris, even at the next meeting. So if you get a chance, thank him personally, and we hope to continue to get from our administration. Where's Mr. Manning? Did he leave? We need good legal counsel in the area of land use planning, as Alderwoman Denham identified earlier. That is critical, and we've had that with Mr. Liebeck. Now, Mike, would you like to make any additional reports or comments about next meeting or follow-up for in between?
No additional reports at this time.
All right. In that case, I would like to direct staff to a draft finding of facts that we may pass out to the commission, which are pieces of paper that you'll receive, and in the coming days ahead, you'll fill out some information regarding the basis on which you supported or did not support the vote based upon the legal criteria that you were encumbered to vote by. So those are the findings of fact, and that's what will go into the permanent record. Please be willing to, well, it's your requirement to fill those out. And then we'll see you in the month of March. I'd like a motion for adjournment.
Second.
I have Romine and O'Day, motion and second to adjourn. Roll call vote for adjournment.
Commissioner Romine,
Yes.
Commissioner Stepp,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson O'Day,
Yes.
Commissioner Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Lloyd,
Yes.
Commissioner LeBlanc,
Yes.
Chairperson Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Nichols,
Yes.
Alderperson Denham.
Before I say yes, we weren't asked if we had any reports, normally at the end.
Due to the time tonight, I'll have you to defer your report till next meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Yes.